guests, families of our fallen and our wounded, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Lieutenant General Robert Cohn and Command Sergeant Major Arthur Coleman, who are currently deployed in harm's way, welcome and thank you for joining us today on this beautiful Central Texas afternoon. November 5th, 2009 was a beautiful Central Texas day as well. Blue sky, warm temperature, a slight breeze, soldiers, civilians, families, all going about their business like any other day at Fort Hood. But in an instant, things changed. 13 lives were lost, dozens more were shattered by wounds, and literally hundreds became directly affected by events that unfolded that beautiful afternoon. An afternoon now indelibly etched in the history of Fort Hood, but more importantly, in the collective consciousness of its people, the Army, and our nation. The 13 killed and 32 wounded were men and women, soldiers and civilians, active duty and reservists, young and old. They were brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers, sons and daughters. Some had been here for only a few days. Others were long-term Fort Hood citizens. But for all their differences, they shared a common bond. They were each selfless servants of a great nation. 13 are gone. The wounded remain. Many have since deployed back into combat. Others returned home or moved on to somewhere else in our Army. Some are still recovering from their wounds and healing. Our losses a year ago left 13 holes in our respective formations, spaces that were filled eventually by replacements, but whose loss remains nonetheless. This afternoon's ceremony provides us an opportunity to honor and reflect on those 13 lives, the value they provided us, and to pay tribute to their families. Now, over the course of the past year, each family has had to experience the first. Maybe it was the first wedding anniversary without their spouse, the first big school event or game without a mom or dad, the first birthday of your loved one where you had to say they would have been this old. Each of you have passed the first Thanksgiving and Christmas, summer vacation, and so much more. And now we come to today, the last of the firsts, the anniversary of their passing. I can only begin to imagine the flood of emotions today brings to each of you. But please know that all of us in the Fort Hood and broader Central Texas community, actually throughout our Army and our nation, share in your grief and use the loss of your loved one as a source of strength to grow and to be better servants of our nation on your behalf. The entire world watched the events of November 5th, 2009, and have continued to watch the response since. And it is that response that brings us back to today. In the aftermath of events of that afternoon, the incredible team that makes Fort Hood the great place rose from its darkest moments, regained balance, and renewed its commitments to the highest standards of service. Inspiringly led by Lieutenant General Cohn, this team mourned its loss, cared for its wounded, and vowed to turn tragedy into opportunity. A chance to make Fort Hood and the Army better than it ever was. The loss of 13 patriotic and selfless people would not go in vain, but serve as an inspiration to be better soldiers, better professional civilians, better and stronger families. And we watched our wounded as they healed, displaying that same tough, proud, and resilient spirit resident throughout our Army, and said, it's time to follow that example. Time to rededicate to taking on the toughest tasks and missions and carrying them through to win. This is the legacy provided by those we remember here today. We honor them best by vowing to live up to their example of service and sacrifice. We will always mourn their loss, but it's incumbent on each of us to use their example as a source of strength for the future. I believe that they would expect nothing less. They deserve this. Our nation and our Army demands it. And so we come to the end of a year of firsts, but also a lifetime of next. We lost members of our family a year ago today, but this family, your Fort Hood family, your Army family, remains committed to always remembering these patriots and bringing honor to that memory by how we live our next. Thank you, and God bless each of you here today.